It's already September here in Green Bay. The days are already shrinking faster than my drive to want to do cardio. And the sun is starting to rise later. It's ducking out by dinner time, and you can already feel that awesome Midwest gray cloud creeping in. And this time of year, anxiety, stress, depression, they always spike. But here's the thing nobody's telling you. You have way more control than you think. And the research, it's not subtle. It's screaming at us. To be exact, over 97 meta-reviews, more than 1,000 randomized controlled trials, 128,000 people studied, and the conclusion was exercise isn't just a nice to have. It's more effective than meds and therapy when it comes to managing depression, anxiety, and psychological distress. Okay, you heard that right. It's more effective. And that's not just me talking. There was a massive research study from the University of South Australia in the British Journal of Sports Med a couple of years ago. And today what I want to do is dive into what that means for you this fall and winter. Okay, so what we're going to do is dive right into the study. I'm going to tell you more about it, run right through it, and get into the meat of this, because I don't want you thinking I'm just another dude with a barbell and shouting about exercise and how it cures everything. This is not my opinion. This is research, and it's a big research study. I'm talking about the one that came out of the British Journal of Sports Med, and it wasn't just a small trial with a handful of college kids running on treadmills. This was an umbrella review, which means it pulled together the highest quality studies. Okay, so these are the meta reviews, the systematic reviews, randomized controlled trials. And this is what it included: 97 reviews, over 1,000 randomized controlled trials, and more than 128,000 people. That's an insane amount of people, okay? It's not a little sliver of the population. Think about Lambeau Field. That's almost double what Lambeau can fill. I think Lambeau's like 80,000 people, right? We're sitting at 128,000 people. And what were the results? They were consistent across the board. All right, here's what they found. Exercise reduced symptoms of depression with an effect size of minus 0.43. Now, if you're not sure what that means, it's not a tiny shift. It's clinically meaningful. The same thing with anxiety, minus 0.42, psychological distress, minus 0.60, which is huge. And what's the translation? Is that people weren't just a little better. We are talking noticeable, life-altering improvements, and improvements that beat out standard treatments, things like counseling and even medication in many cases. Let that sink in. It was more effective in many cases than counseling and even medications. And now, I am not one to bash either of those. I myself have personally gone through therapy and have tried the medications and the SSRIs. And while I no longer take them at the point of time that I was in, this was probably 2017, I've talked about it in the past, it was definitely beneficial. So I'm not saying in replace of, but this research is saying that exercise is being found to be more effective in many cases to counseling and therapy and medications. Okay. And here's why this matters. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health condition in the US. And together, they cost our economy over $300 billion every single year. Okay. That's lost productivity. That's missed work. That's skyrocketing medical bills. And the thing sitting right in front of us is exercise. Okay. It's proven to work better than the traditional treatments that we are throwing all of our money at. And sometimes this is a hard truth, but exercise is the harder one, right? It's all hard. I promise you, I understand it. Dealing with mental health issues is all difficult, and it's something that most people will battle through their entire life, okay? Myself included. But it's easier to jump and take the medications if somebody tells you to, and that's going to be the traditional world's first line of defense is giving you a medication, right? It's also, in my opinion, easier. Well, take this with a grain of salt. For me, it was really difficult to go find somebody to talk with and help until I hit that rock bottom point. But it's harder to get yourself up multiple times a week to go and exercise, in my opinion. Once I started working with a therapist, I got into the good groove and I was like, this isn't really that bad. And again, I talked about this in a prior episode. It took me like 4 or 5 therapists before I found one that understood me. And so once I found her, it was pretty easy. The first few, they sucked. I'm not going to lie. But exercising is difficult because it involves you going through some discomfort, but the mental benefits there are huge. And sidebar, the populations that were in this study, it wasn't just healthy gym rats, okay? So it wasn't just people that are already going to the gym. The biggest wins, which I think was the most eye-opening part of this study for me, the biggest wins were in people that had been diagnosed with depression, with things like HIV and kidney disease and pregnant and postpartum women, and even in healthy adults. So across the board, exercise moved the needle, okay? And now again, I'm going to be a little blunt. If this was a pill, it would be a $1 million or $1 billion drug. Doctors would be pushing it. Pharma would be cashing checks, and you'd be begging your insurance company to cover it, okay? But it's not a pill. So again, to my comment about the medications being the first line of defense, if exercise was a pill, don't you think they'd be pushing it? But here's the thing, it's free and it's sitting there just waiting for you to use it, okay? So here's the natural next question and probably what you're thinking. What kind of exercise are we talking about? Some people say, I don't have an hour to do. Some people say, well, I haven't exercised in X amount of years, so I'm not just going to get up. I can't just get up and go do, right? And I know some of you are saying that, like, I don't want to train for this event or that event just to feel less stressed. Well, the good news is you don't have to, okay? The research found that shorter, higher intensity bouts of exercise were actually more effective than longer, dragged out programs. And what that means is you don't need to live at the gym. You don't need the all-out red zone 90-minute sessions. You don't need to train like you're going to the CrossFit Games. What was the effective dosage? 20 to 30 minutes. Again, 20 to 30 minutes. That can hit harder than grinding out an hour and a half session. And it wasn't one type of movement that worked either, okay? Strength training, aerobic work, yoga, walking, all of it showed benefits. What was the common denominator? You've got to move your body, okay? Here's how I would translate this for you. Aim for 3 to 4 structured workouts a week. If you're slammed, hit 10 to 15 minutes of focused movement at home. If you can do burpees, great. If you need to modify burpees, great. I hate burpees. They're effective, okay? Push-ups, squats, kettlebell swings, anything like that to elevate your heart rate and that makes you breathe. You should be already breathing, but it should make you breathe harder. That's medicine, okay? You can go for a walk. Walk a little faster than maybe you start or you're comfortable with, okay? Just really get that heart rate elevated. So whatever that looks like for you, do that. Give yourself grace if you can't do burpees or kettlebell swings or squats yet, but you can walk. Most people can walk. And if not, there are other things you can do, and I'm more than happy to point you in that direction, okay? But here's why increasing your heart rate and breathing a little harder works. It's not magic. It's chemistry, okay? When you exercise, we've talked about this in the past as well, Your brain releases serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, the same neurotransmitters antidepressants are designed to target. Okay. You're also going to increase something called BDNF. I talked about this, I believe, in the recovery podcast episode, but I'm not 100% positive that's where it was. But that's brain derived neurotrophic factor. And think of BDNF as miracle grow for your brain. Okay. It helps your brain rewire itself for resilience. And that's why you feel lighter, sharper after you train. That's why a walk can shift your mood in 20 minutes. It's not placebo, it's fact. For myself, if I ever feel like my ideas are not coming to me or I'm just struggling for a solution, if I go walk within 15 minutes, I typically have a solution to the problem. I have a million and one ideas back in my mind. And that's simply because of these reasons, right? And this is where I get really fired up. Exercise works faster than almost anything else we can prescribe for mental health. Antidepressants can take 6 weeks to fully kick in. Therapy is powerful, but it does take time. Exercise, you can go for a walk, you can go do a 20-minute workout, and you can feel the effects immediately. So what I want you to do is go take a walk or hit a quick circuit. Your brain chemistry will literally change within minutes. All the endorphins and the dopamine, the serotonin, it's that chemical cocktail that flips the lights back on in your head. So don't overthink it. Big message. Don't make this complicated. Start with where you're at. Don't overthink it. Just move. Movement is medicine. The dosage is small and repeatable, and most importantly, consistent. You need to be consistent. If you can do this 3 times a week, you are going to see and feel changes, okay? This stat blew my mind. One single workout has the power to reduce anxiety for up to 12 hours. That's one workout. That means the workout you do this morning can literally carry you throughout the workday. I've been feeling a little more stressed and anxious myself. And when I think back to it, my workouts, I've been letting outside variables play a bigger role than they should. Okay. And therefore, I haven't been working out as intense as I was probably 2 weeks ago. And this is like just the past 4 days or so. And I've been working out, just not at the intensity that I'm used to. And sure enough, I've been a little more anxious. So this is likely why. I know I feel better when I sweat and when I move and when I work out. Okay. So now let's zoom back into our reality here in Green Bay or the Midwest in general, because this isn't just a science conversation. The fact of the matter is we live in Wisconsin, and every year by mid-November, it's dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You wake up in the dark, you drive home in the dark, and the only light you see is unfortunately a lot of blue light from your computer screen or your phone screen, right? By December, we're lucky to get 4 or 5 hours of sunlight a day. In June, we get over 10. So that's a massive hit to your circadian rhythm, your vitamin D levels, and your overall mental health. And the stats do not lie. Seasonal affective disorder hits about 5% of adults every year, and up to 20% get hit with seasonal depression symptoms. That's millions of people, and I include myself in that stat, okay? And when it hits, here's what usually happens. Motivation tanks. And this is why I'm not a fan of motivation and people using it to move things forward, okay? Because it is an emotion. It's up and down. It spirals. You can feel motivated one day and get all the things done. The next day you can feel zero motivation and you won't be productive because you don't feel motivated. You got to dig a little deeper, okay? So motivation tanks. Sleep gets weird because the circadian rhythm's all jacked up. Stress typically spikes. You feel more drained, and now your mental health spirals. I've lived it. That's why I can talk about it. It's not just you. It's the reality of seasonal affective disorder and seasonal depression, okay? Up here in the Midwest, we're hit harder than most because we simply get less daylight. But here's the empowering part. We can't control the sun. We can't make January feel like July. And shoot, Are the Packers going to have a good season? We can't control whether they show up this year or not. But what we can control is whether we move. Without exercise, I can guarantee you that the winter months will steamroll you. With exercise, you're building armor. I talked about this in the newsletter last week. September's a great time to reset. So many people wait until January. New year, new goals. New year, new me. It doesn't really work out that way, unfortunately. Most people by 3 weeks in, their goals have already fallen apart, so they quit on the year. Okay, so right now is a great time while we still have some good weather. We still have the sun. Start to build solid routines, okay? Because as these winter months come, you are going to be more challenged. So right now, I want you to start slow. You're building armor. You're boosting your mood, your energy, improving your sleep quality, and overall building your resilience, okay? Exercise is literally your light switch when the outside world is going to be getting more dark. And again, I have seen this firsthand. I have lived this myself. I go through this every year. We have seen hundreds of clients struggled with anxiety who have told me straight up, like, winters crush me. I'm open about my mental health issues. A lot of people are open with theirs to me as well. And here's what they do to be successful. They commit to training. We help hold them accountable, but they themselves commit to training 3-4 days a week and just moving with purpose. And every time they come back and say, I don't feel that same heavy fog this year, just because they are being consistent with movement, okay? It's not placebo. Again, that's 128,000 people that were in that study, backing up what we also see in real life. So what do we do with all of this? Because knowing and me preaching at you right now is useless if you don't act. So here's my challenge. And maybe movement will come up with a little challenge as well. But over the next month, so it's September 2nd as a recording, September 3rd as this goes out. In the month of September, what I want you to do is commit to moving on purpose at least 3 to 4 times a week, okay? And that's just not getting up from the couch and walking to the fridge, not just pacing in a Zoom meeting. I'm talking about intentional movement. I don't care if it's a lift. I don't care if it's a walk. You can lift, you can walk, you can sprint, you can do circuits. I don't care, and it doesn't matter as long as it challenges you and gets your heart rate up. Keep it short if you have to. 10 minutes is better than 0, okay? You can, again, change your brain chemistry on your lunch break. Push hard if you can. Go for intensity when you've got it. But don't overcomplicate it, okay? Just move. And I want you to track it. There's a quote by Tony Horton from P90X. How do you know what to do if you don't know what you did? I hate it, but it lives rent-free in my mind. Okay, so write it down and write down how you feel after each session as well. So I want you to write down what you did, how you felt after. If you have a wearable, definitely track your sleep. Compare days to when you were active to when you were less active. Track your stress levels. I've got a Garmin. It tracks my sleep. It tracks my stress, my steps, my calories. HRV, honestly too much for how my mind works. But what I'm most interested in myself is my step count, my HRV, and my sleep. Okay. My workouts sometimes are more intense, so my recovery kind of is up and down. But I care more about the sleep, the HRV, and my step count. Okay. And now track your energy and your stress, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to see what those 128,000 people in the research saw. Okay. And it's not exercise for abs or for biceps. It's for your brain. It's for your life. Okay. Now think about it. If your doctor handed you a pill that was proven more effective than meds or counseling for anxiety and depression, you would take it without hesitation, right? But here's the catch. You've already got the pill. It's already here. It's free. It's movement. You just got to move. The only thing standing in your way, honestly, is yourself. So this month is going to be one of the last months with a lot of daylight. We are walking into the dark months. But you don't need to walk into the darkness mentally, okay? Let's really work to improve the mental health in our area by getting more people to move. Spread the word. Movement is your shield. Movement is your medicine. Movement is how you fight back. Okay? So if this hits you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who struggles every winter. Again, I'm with you. I hear you. I battle it every year. And if you are sitting there thinking, yeah, I don't know where to start, again, we are here to help you however we can. We can bridge the gap if you're dealing with pain and performance, so you can build a body that's strong, durable, more resilient, all the things. But more so, we just want you to live a good life. We want you to be happy mentally and physically. And this winter doesn't have to break you. So let's move through it together. Appreciate you listening, and we will talk later.